I've always been fascinated by the American road, and I travel a lot. When I first read Jessica's book, and it was incredible to know how big the community and how colorful the characters are in there, and how amazing their experiences are. So I wanted to capture that.
We start with a set of rules before the film started. There's only 3 lenses we're going to use. There's only a certain time of day we're going to shoot. There's a Bible, you know, the dogma. Well, there's a 10 commitment we must follow. Mm-hmm. And then once those things are set in stone, when you show up on set, everything is completely different than you expected.
Well, I think Fern is at her core, is me at my core. I think something that Chloe was attracted to in the time that we spent together is that there's a childlike quality that we were really interested in for Fern, that she's had a very prescribed set of rules living in Empire. And once she hits the road, the possibilities become open and her sense of self-sufficiency is tested.
Well, from the very beginning, we wanted Fern to be a guide, to be able to bring us into this vast, really rich world of nomadic living. What I've learned that you have to anchor the audience in one person's intimate experience so they can feel, comfortable to be able to experience everything else and without getting lost. So that's always the plan from the beginning, to find that balance.
Fern takes care of herself, and you're always wondering, but she has such warmth that she is a nurturing presence. It's just like, oh, that's everybody's mom. It's just like everybody's mom.
I'm in the business of recording time in a way. What I mean by that is some people aren't going to be around in 10 years. Some places are going to disappear in 10 years. Like when I drive through a little town in Nebraska, there used to be something when the railroad was there, but now the railroad closed and there's 5 people living there. It always made me think, how do they want to be remembered? And it is not about me going in to say to the nomads, I have an idea of how the world should be, and I want you to help me to make the world a better place. That is not my job as a filmmaker. My job is to go in there and ask them, how would you like to be remembered? And work on my film from that direction. And as time goes on, I realized that it actually all started with the final image. The image that was in Jessica Bruder's book, because in the book, Linda May was left alone. She found some land and she stood there alone. And Jessica wondered, I wonder what waits for Linda May, where she go from here. And that ending of the book was so profound to me. I seeing this woman left alone in this rugged wilderness, having made the choice she made to live this way, and or not a choice first, but then eventually become a choice. I realized that's how I wanted the film to end, and then from Fern alone in the wilderness, not staying behind on the homestead from most Westerns, but she is the one that now walking into the wilderness. And going backwards is how to create a character arc, emotional arc, that's strong enough to hold the audience. So that last moment, the audience will feel how I felt when I read the book. The tone thing, I don't think I ever think about it. But I notice it when it's definitely tonally all over the place. I can recognize when it's a cocktail. And then, but for some reason, they say like life isn't perfect. The beauty is in making it yours, and I find that for certain type of filmmaking, by the way, it doesn't apply to all. But in what I'm trying to do, if someone's giving you something, or if something happened on set and you capture it, is a bit of it feels damaging to try to get rid of it in service of a consistent tone. And that's in the edit, really, for me. When you screen it for people, I usually get notes. Tonally, this is all over the place. And then you have to make a decision whether you want to keep it that way or not, In this moment, Fern had just left where she's from, which is northern Nevada, to the desert in Corset, Arizona, where there's a gathering of nomads and land dwellers called the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, the RTR. I like the kind of video games where you just walk through beautiful landscapes. So we talked a lot about video games and then how immersive it is, and to just follow a character and walking through this space and the camera drifts and there's a lot to discover in the frame. So that's the conception of this shot. And our DP is really good at calculating the exact time of day where the sun is in the right place. If the sun is any higher, you would have blown things up. The sky wouldn't be the same. If it's any lower, you would lose details on what was in front of it. And this was one take. That's it. You can really only do one take every day, which is have an incredible producing team, organizing everything, cueing everyone off camera. And then our sound design team just rebuild the entire soundscape.
But there's that one scene where she sits down with Homeboy and she's like, I bet your parents miss you. And that scene, it just tore my heart out.
I mean, Derek, honestly, that's how he is in real life. It's like he came from another era. I feel like it's like a Huckleberry Finn or something, and he's really happy just being out there alone in the desert, hop off a train and just sits there for days. Every location we go to, there is going to be people of that land that should be used representing that place. So we cast as we went, and people like Derek I met in the desert. It depends what's your style of working with non-professional actors. There are ways to work with non-professional actors. You create a character that has a bit more plot points and you require a bit more depth in terms of how much they evolve, and you go do a big casting call. And then you find someone who will be on their way to become a professional actor someday. And you rehearse them, you train them, and you do it. But that's not what we were interested in, right? We wanted people that can just play a version of themselves and give us that sense of their own real life. And so then the characters that I would make it fictional are the characters that I need to create an arc that's very far from the reality that could help me incorporate all these real people in it, and those are cast by with professional actors. The improvisational thing, yes, there's about 5% of the film is we did find in the moment, but most of them are, if not a few days before, I had met someone, and then I would still write scenes for them. The same process, talking to the right scenes, so they get pages on the day. I learned that from my first film, which I shot without a script. It's a big mistake, because don't shoot a film with a treatment. At least that's what my advice would be, because treatment makes sense sometimes, because those between the paragraphs, some of these things that will present itself in the script format, you're missing scenes. You will realize that you're missing scenes that connects some of the scenes in the treatment. Even if I knew most likely this person is going to improvise, I still write the scene for them. So I know there's a shoebox. If nothing works, I can always pull out my script and say, this is why I'm doing this. Timmy, I think the trick, the thing that we strive to is try to plan as much as possible to a point when you can feel as if when you watch the movie that we just showed up and did it.
Yeah.
And we don't mind people feeling like, well, it's a little sad when they think that, but that's what we want them to feel. But it's actually, you need all the planning in the world to make that happen. And to make that happen, you need to plan probably 3 times even more than a conventional shoot, because you need to plan every possible reactionary situation when you do be spontaneous while you're on set, and to be able to then drop someone like Frances McDormand in the middle of that kind of immersive reality with the nomads, then that's when you get that feeling. They feel extremely human, these characters, and the experiences of people in these places feels extremely human. We try really hard to tell a story where the audiences can come in, doesn't matter what they believe in, what political party they belong in, they can relate on a human level first, and then they can take the judgment, they can walk away feeling however they want to feel. We're not here to teach. We're here to hopefully communicate and make you feel something. Obviously I have my own opinions, my own political opinions and opinions in general. But I learned very early on, it's not really my job to make films to try to convince other people of my own political opinion. It's my job is to create a human experience for my audience, and so that they could step in to a world that's not their own and meet people they would never meet and connect. And then they can walk away and make their own decisions. So that means that when I do go into a stranger's home, I am not trying to tell them how they should live and what I think their politics, or tell them about my politics and tell them what's right or wrong about the world.
I know later this year you have Marvel's Eternals coming out, and you look at the two different films coming out this year, two completely opposite ends of the spectrum. But I'm curious, sort of what is the most interesting sort of commonality between a smaller, more quiet movie like Nomadland and then obviously sort of the big Marvel movie like Eternals?
I think the way that we're making it really, is I have a incredibly supportive team on both films, and we're using the same camera rig, very similar lens choices. Yeah. And then I'm working with 25, 27 people on Nomadland closely. And then on Eternals, those 25 people might have hundreds of people behind them, but that's still my core that are very protective of me. So my own experience hasn't really changed that much. That's the only thing I can say that is similar. It's like we have all got into a boat together and went on a sailing trip. And yes, I'm the captain, but it's a matter of survival when you're out there. We all every day looking at the sun setting. We need water. Now we need to find bathroom, and now the storm is coming. Being out there in this landscape on the road, we needed each other. And I think that's how the bond is formed. That's how we learn to trust each other and work together.